On April 15, 1954, Michelle Knotek was born in the state of Washington, USA. Everyone called her Shelly. She was the eldest child in a family of 3 siblings. Their father worked hard to provide for the family, while their mother struggled with alcoholism. When Shelly turned 6 years old, her mother abandoned the family, leaving the 3 children with their father. From that moment, Shelly began to show strange and cruel behavior. Instead of being a caring older sister, she turned into a tormentor of her siblings, physically and emotionally abusing them. Later, her father remarried a woman named Laura, who was known for her calmness and good morals. However, she was not spared from Shelly's aggressive behavior. Shelly showed intense hatred toward her stepmother and treated her with coldness and contempt. When Shelly was 13, the family received tragic news. Their mother had died after living a miserable life with a man who was also an addict, and she was eventually killed by him. Strangely, Shelly showed no grief. Instead, her tormenting of her siblings worsened after hearing the news. Shelly had sadistic tendencies and committed cruel acts, such as placing broken glass inside her siblings' shoes to hurt them intentionally. According to her stepmother's testimony, Shelly's behavior had been alarming since a very young age. In 1969, she shocked everyone by not returning home after school. It later emerged that she went to the police and falsely accused her father of raping her. Her father was immediately detained for investigation, but medical examination proved that she was still a virgin, revealing that Shelly had lied. After the scandal, her father refused to take her back home, so she moved to live with her grandparents. However, her harmful behavior did not stop. She accused her grandparents of abuse and caused legal troubles for them. During her teenage years, Shelly worked in childcare, a common job for girls her age. But she used this job to continue hurting others by mistreating, beating, and imprisoning children, reflecting the escalation of her aggressive behavior. These were the beginnings of Shelly Knotek's story, the child who became one of the most dangerous female criminals in American history. Later, when she grew up and married, her criminal behavior escalated to a whole new level, committing horrific acts of torture and murder against those living under her roof. Although Shelly was known from a young age for her cruelty and evil, her last marriage was the true beginning of a human tragedy. In 1982, Shelly married for the 3rd time, this time to a man named David Knotek. Ironically, David took her last name, unlike the usual custom, as if she owned him, not the other way around. David was a simple man, a construction worker and former U.S. Navy sailor. He said he saw in Shelly the most beautiful woman he had ever known. But the truth was that David was kind-hearted and weak-willed, which made him easy prey for a narcissistic and sadistic woman like her. From her previous marriage, Shelly had 2 daughters, the eldest Nikki and the younger Sammy. After marrying David, she gave birth to a 3rd daughter named Tori. On the outside, the family appeared perfect, a mother, a father, and 3 daughters smiling in photos, dressed nicely. But the reality was something entirely different. Inside the house, it was a stage for systematic torture. Shelly practiced torture in both psychological and physical ways with precision. She didn't just beat and insult them, she made everyone feel guilty for her actions. She would hit them, then cry and say, "Look what you made me do to myself. This is all your fault." In 1988, a boy named Shane Watson entered their lives. He was David's nephew. He was 13 years old when he was sent to live with his uncle after his father was imprisoned and his mother abandoned him. He didn't know he was moving from one tragedy into a real hell. Shelly began treating him like a servant. If he used the bathroom without permission, he was beaten. If he made a mistake, he was forced to stand outside the house for hours, naked, and made to sleep in the mud and cold. But she didn't stop there. She made the punishments collective. If one person erred, everyone was punished. Sometimes, she locked them in the rabbit cage or the chicken coop, or hit them with broken glass from doors. Once, she pushed Nikki's head into a glass door until it shattered on her face, then screamed at her. "Look what you did. You broke the door. Who will fix it now?" She tortured them, then showed fake affection. She would cry in front of them, apologize, and sometimes give gifts, making them think she regretted it. But the truth was she was using a carrot-and-stick approach to strip them of their sense of reality. She would strip them of their humanity, then restore it only to take it away again. "My slipper broke. Who will fix it now?" "It's okay, dear, but don't do it again." That's how the story begins. She had just hit her head on the door, then suddenly she shifts and starts scolding. "Don't do that again. I love you. You're the one who made me do this." The child takes the blame, feeling it's her fault, and here narcissism reveals itself in its cruelest form. Do you know what happens to a child in this situation? The child loses the natural ability to distinguish right from wrong because, in their eyes, the adult never makes mistakes. On top of all the torture, the child is convinced that they are the cause. And this is the worst kind of psychological abuse. Shelly was a vile woman who didn't stop at physical torture. She played on the psychological level as well. Humiliation, degradation, lowering self-worth, and always blaming the victim. She placed the responsibility for her horrific actions on her victims in a hidden, sadistic way. In December 1988, Kathy Larino entered the story, Shelly's close friend. She had no idea that entering that house would be the end of her. Kathy was kind-hearted but had lost her job, so she asked Shelly for temporary shelter. She begged, "I just want to live with you until I find a new job." At first, everything seemed normal. But Shelly's other side didn't take long to show. She began yelling at Kathy, ordering her to clean the house while naked, starving her, forcing her to take sedatives, and making her sleep in the basement next to the laundry sink. Kathy lost 60 kilograms, her teeth fell out from malnutrition, and the psychological torture was worse than the physical. Even David, Shelly's husband, joined in torturing her, tying her up, pouring water on her, and putting bleach on her wounds. All under Shelly's direction. In 1994, Kathy lost her life after Shelly severely beat her. David left her in the basement while she was vomiting and choking. He tried to save her, but it was too late. The police were not informed. Shelly waited for David to return, and when told, she showed no distress. She simply said, "We must get rid of the body." And so, they burned her body in the garden and scattered her ashes, as if she never existed. Then they lied, claiming she had run away with her lover. The family was ordered to keep silent. "If anyone talks, we will all go to prison." But Shane, David's nephew, had begun to suspect and recorded evidence of the abuse. In 1995, he decided to report to the police, but Nikki, Shelly's daughter, betrayed him out of fear of her mother. She informed Shelly, who then orchestrated Shane's murder by his uncle David. His body was burned the same way, and his ashes scattered in the air. Nikki's psyche was shattered, and to this day, she carries a heavy burden of guilt. She believes she is responsible for Shane's death. Shelly's crimes did not stop there. In 1999, she brought in a homeless man named Ron and began torturing him with brutal methods. Forcing him to sleep outside, drink his own urine, jump on gravel, and pouring bleach into boiling water on his body. This continued until 2003, until Ron died under the weight of the torture. 4 years of oppression, and a final month of intense suffering, as if she wanted to get rid of him. A month passed, and nothing changed. Was the poor man without anywhere else to go, or was Shelly firmly controlling him? No one knows. What matters is that after that, they took Ron's body and put it in the fridge. After a while, for security reasons, they couldn't burn his body like they did with Kathy's, so they buried him in the backyard. There must have been a reason they chose burial over burning. Perhaps nearby neighbors who might have become suspicious. At the same time, Shelly was taking care of other men, including a man named James, aged 81. He didn't live with them but visited occasionally. When James died, he was at their house and left Shelly a will granting her a house valued at $1,400,000, which raised questions about their relationship. When his body was examined, a large head wound was found. Some claimed he had fallen and hit his head, and the police recorded his death as natural despite the suspicious circumstances. After some time, Tori, the youngest family member, became mentally exhausted from the life of fear and abuse and decided to go to her sisters Nikki and Sammy. She told them she could no longer remain silent or endure it, so they asked her to return to the house and gather Ron's belongings to present to the authorities and testify against Shelly. On August 8, 2003, the three sisters went to the police station and reported everything that had happened. The police raided Shelly's house, dug up the backyard, and found Ron's body. Shelly and David were arrested, and Tori was placed under the guardianship of her sisters Nikki and Sammy. David was sentenced to 13 years in prison, and Shelly was sentenced to 22 years for first-degree murder, with a plea deal reducing the charges to second-degree murder. After serving 19 years in prison, Shelly was released on bail on November 8, 2022. After her release, her daughter Sammy said she was afraid to meet her mother. Even seeing her at the door made her close it quickly and call the police. David called his daughters Sammy and Tori to apologize, but Nikki refused to forgive him because what he did was unforgivable. Nikki still carries a deep guilt over Shane's death, David's brother who was killed on Shelly's orders after trying to report her crimes. Shelly's story is a stark example of the dangers of narcissists and how they exploit those around them, especially the vulnerable. Narcissists do not love the strong and brave, they prey on the weak who cannot fight back. And when confronted, they flee in fear. So, don't let narcissists control you or your emotions. You own your personality and precious feelings, don't waste them on those who don't deserve them.